Have you ever felt like life is silently draining you little by little without you even noticing? What if the biggest threats to your peace aren't loud crises, but subtle everyday choices you keep making? Imagine reclaiming your time, energy, and soul by learning what to stop giving away so freely. As you approach your destination just when peace seems within reach, others intrude, piling on requests, demands, and expectations. Whether it's family, friends, or even strangers, they all share one thing in common. They are draining you of your most invaluable resources, your time, your energy, and your inner tranquility. Let's be real. Have you ever felt like the constant go-to person, always there to support others while silently sinking beneath the weight of it all? If so, this video is for you. Today, we'll explore 5 things you must never allow others to take from you. These aren't merely physical drains. They erode your spirit and leave you feeling empty. But here's the truth. You were not put on this earth to live in a constant state of sacrifice, endlessly chasing after goals, or bearing the weight of others' burdens. This is your life, and you deserve the peace, freedom, and fulfillment you've earned through your efforts. Stay with us. What you're about to hear might be the reminder you didn't know you needed. Let's begin this powerful journey of awareness and self-mastery. As you move through each point, pause to reflect, because these lessons are not just theories. They are tools you can immediately use to reshape your life. 1. Never take on responsibilities that aren't yours as we journey through life. We often encounter situations where the burden of responsibility is placed upon us. What starts as a simple request, perhaps a family member needing a small favor, or a situation you feel compelled to assist with, soon grows into something far larger, and before you realize it, you're no longer just lending a hand. You've become the one holding everything together. The more you give, the heavier it becomes, and the harder it is to let go. But here's the truth that resonates deeply within Stoic philosophy. Even the strongest rope will snap if pulled too tightly, for too long. I know this feeling all too well. I've been that rope stretched beyond my limits by obligations that were never truly mine to bear. I recall a time when a relative asked for my help organizing a surprise birthday party for their child. At first I agreed to a small role, maybe picking out a gift or offering a suggestion, but over time the request snowballed. I found myself in charge of every detail, from booking the venue and planning the food to making the guest list and coordinating every small aspect. My relative, meanwhile, contributed little, claiming you're so much better at this than I am. By the time the party arrived, I was exhausted, drained, and overwhelmed. And to add insult to injury, they took all the credit for how well it went. When I finally expressed how burdened I felt, they dismissed my feelings, calling me overly sensitive and saying it's just one day. That was the moment I learned an invaluable lesson. Helping others should never come at the expense of your own well-being. There is a fine line between being supportive and sacrificing your own peace. It was not my responsibility to carry the entire weight of the event, especially when others should have stepped up. Stoicism teaches us that true peace is not found in pleasing others or carrying their burdens. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers, reminds us that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Once I began to understand this principle, I realized that saying no to an unreasonable request was not an act of selfishness. It was an act of self-preservation. I had the power to choose where my time, energy, and attention went, and I needed to honor my own boundaries. If you find yourself in a similar situation, ask yourself, does this responsibility truly belong to me? If it does not, then have courage to say, no, you are not required to bear the weight of your family's or others' problems. Remember, every time you refuse a burden that is not yours to carry, you are choosing your own peace and protecting your priorities. It is only by setting boundaries that you can safeguard your inner tranquility. Allowing you to live a life of purpose and balance. This principle is essential in reclaiming your energy and protecting your soul. Boundaries are not walls, but protective measures that preserve the peace and clarity you deserve. When we learn to say no. We are affirming our right to live in alignment with our own values, not those imposed upon us by others. 2. Don't let others take your money and financial stability in the quiet moments of our lives. It is easy to feel at peace. Imagine waking up to a calm morning, the warmth of the sun streaming through your window, a cup of coffee in hand, and for once a feeling of stillness. But then the phone rings, a familiar voice greets you, maybe a child, a relative, or an old friend. Instead of the comforting conversation you expected, they urgently ask for a loan. Just this once, you think. But we both know that just this once has a way of becoming a recurring request. And the peace you had is slowly chipped away bit by bit. This is a scenario that my friend David knows all too well. David was the go-to person whenever anyone needed financial help. One day, an old friend called explaining that they were in a financial emergency. Out of kindness, David lent the money, but the request did not end there. First, it was to fix a car, then to pay a bill. Each time, David found himself digging deeper into his own finances. It wasn't just the money that was lost. It was his peace of mind. Every phone call brought with it a sense of dread and anxiety as he anticipated yet another request. What made it worse was that his friend never even considered repaying the loan, nor did they express any gratitude for his support. This situation might feel all too familiar for many of us. The truth is that your money is the direct result of your hard work, your efforts, and the sacrifices you have made to build your own stability. You are not a bank, nor are you a bottomless well that others can draw from without consideration. It's important to remember that true happiness does not arise from pleasing others or living as a financial cushion for those around you. Instead, happiness comes from living in accordance with your values, preserving your peace, and protecting what you have worked so hard to build. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most esteemed Stoic philosophers, wisely said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts when you give, without consideration. When you hand over your hard-earned money without boundaries, you do not just lose wealth, you lose peace. Each time you say yes to a request that jeopardizes your financial stability, you rob yourself of your mental clarity and tranquility. So what does it mean to protect your financial well-being? It starts with setting clear boundaries around your resources. Not every request for money is your responsibility, and not every person who asks for help will honor the value of what you give. If you sense that a loan will be misused or worse, never repaid. Have the courage to say no. Saying no is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-preservation, and it ensures that your relationships remain intact without unnecessary strain. Ask yourself this: if tomorrow you faced an emergency or an unexpected crisis, who would step up to support you? The truth is that true financial stability comes not from constantly giving to others, but from being able to stand firm in your own security, knowing that your own peace and future are protected when you maintain strong financial boundaries. You not only safeguard your own peace of mind, but also give yourself the space to enjoy the fruits of your hard work without fear of depletion. Remember, money is not an endless resource to be drained by the needs of others. It is a tool, one that allows you to build a life that aligns with your purpose and your values. By protecting your financial stability, you are affirming that your peace and your future are worth preserving, and that above all, you deserve to live a life that reflects your hard-earned freedom. 3. Don't let yourself be dragged into family conflicts. Family for many is a source of comfort, a foundation of support where we expect to find refuge from the chaos of the world. Yet ironically, family can sometimes become the very source of tension and turmoil, and the greatest disservice they can do to you, pulling you into a conflict that you never asked for, a battle that isn't yours to fight. Picture this: you're relishing a quiet morning, the aroma of your coffee filling the room, a good book in hand, lost in the peace of solitude. But then your phone rings, a familiar voice on the other end urgently recounts a disagreement with another family member. Tom's wrong. They say brother never listens to reason, followed by the all too familiar request you need to talk to. Then, suddenly your serenity is shattered, and you find yourself drawn into a conflict. You didn't start. I've experienced this firsthand. Once my uncle called asking me to mediate a property dispute between him and another uncle. Though I had no involvement, I felt compelled to step in, thinking it was my responsibility to maintain peace within the family. What followed was far from resolution. Neither side was satisfied with my efforts. One accused me of favoritism, while the other claimed I wasn't forceful enough. In the end, the conflict remained unresolved, but I was left with a fractured peace of mind and a sense of distance from both sides. What I realized through this experience is that stepping into family disputes rarely brings about harmony. In fact, more often than not, you end up becoming a target for criticism from all sides. Stoic philosophy reminds us that there is no virtue in entangling ourselves in matters that lie beyond our control. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "You don't have to have an opinion on every event, and you don't have to carry every burden." This is particularly true when it comes to family disagreements. The key then is setting clear boundaries. It's not always easy, especially when family dynamics are at play, but it's necessary for your peace. Don't be afraid to politely decline participation in conflicts that are not your responsibility. Remind your family that each person must be accountable for their own actions, and that mediating their disagreements is not your burden to bear. When the pressure mounts, calmly and firmly express your stance. I respect both of you, but this is not something I should be involved in. Most importantly, ask yourself, am I willing to sacrifice my peace, my energy, and my precious time to play the referee in a dispute that doesn't concern me? Remember that your time and mental well-being are precious. Don't let them be consumed by drama and discord. Instead, use that energy to nurture your own peace, whether through quiet reflection, the enjoyment of life, simple pleasures, or spending time with those who truly contribute to your well-being. This is how we protect our souls from the turbulence of unnecessary conflicts. How we maintain the serenity of the mind and the heart. By choosing not to get involved in family drama, we safeguard our own peace, creating the space to build a life grounded in the values that matter most to us. Don't change yourself just to please others. Have you ever been on the receiving end of well-meaning comments like, "Why don't you try dressing a bit younger?" or "You should really learn how to use social media"? Everyone's doing it at first glance. These may seem like innocent suggestions, but beneath them lies an unspoken demand. Change to fit someone else's mold. Adjust yourself to meet their expectations. While change itself is not inherently bad when it's driven solely by the desire to please others, you risk losing the most precious part of yourself, your true essence. Let me share a story about a close friend of mine, Linda. Linda is a woman in her middle years, grounded in her simple, traditional way of life. She takes pride in the values she's built over a lifetime. But as her daughter began to climb the ranks of her career, she often heard comments like, "Mom, you need to get with the times and learn to use this app, or the way you do things is just so slow at first." Linda felt the pressure to adapt, thinking it would bring her closer to her daughter. Yet, the more she tried, the more weary she became. She found herself questioning her own worth, wondering if she was somehow inadequate in the eyes of her daughter's more modern world. Slowly, Linda started to lose confidence in her own ways and in the very values she had worked so hard to nurture. Here's the essential truth: change, for the sake of growth and self-improvement, is good. But changing solely to meet the expectations of others is a dangerous trap. Your values, your habits, your beliefs, these are not relics of an outdated past. They are the culmination of your experiences, the wisdom you've gained through the years, and the life you've shaped with your own hands. Stoic philosophy teaches us that while we cannot control how others see us, we can control how we see ourselves, as Marcus Aurelius wisely put it, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. It is not shaped by the opinions of others, but by living in alignment with your own values." So how do you stand firm when others try to push you to change? Start by asking yourself, is this change truly right? For me, will it enrich my life? Or am I simply doing this to satisfy someone else's expectations? If the answer is no, then have the strength to say no. It's not about rejecting the people you care about. It's about respecting yourself and your own path. Speak with kindness, but do so with the firmness necessary. To make your stance clear, I am content with who I am, and I do not need to become someone else to gain your approval. Remember this, the people who truly love and care for you will accept you as you are. Flaws and all, they will value the real you, not the version of you they wish you would become. You don't have to surrender your peace, your self-worth, or your pride for the sake of approval. This is your life, and you are the only one who gets to decide how to live it. Stand firm in your beliefs and values, for in doing so, you preserve your integrity. That self-respect is the most enduring strength you will ever have, and it will sustain you through life's challenges. 5. Don't put others' happiness above your own. Ask yourself, how many times have you set aside your own desires just to make someone else happy? How many times have you given up your own passions, your own time, just to meet the expectations of others, whether they be family, friends, or society at large? You've probably heard phrases like, I'll be so disappointed if you don't do this, or I really need your help. I'd be so upset if you said no on the surface. These words may seem harmless, but in reality, they carry an invisible weight that subtly erodes your freedom and happiness. They ask you to give up parts of yourself to fulfill the needs of others without any thought of what it costs you. Let me share the story of Mark, a man who constantly put the happiness of his family and friends ahead of his own. Mark was the go-to guy whenever his younger brother needed help fixing his car or a colleague asked him to pick up slack on a project. Mark would drop everything to assist. He skipped his favorite gym sessions, missed out on weekends with his friends, things that once brought him joy and balance. At first, he thought that making everyone else happy was his duty, his responsibility. But over time, Mark realized something. People started taking his willingness to help for granted. No one asked if he had time for himself or if he even wanted to help. His generosity was no longer seen as a gift, but rather as an obligation. Mark wasn't just drained, he lost his sense of fulfillment. His life had become a series of transactions in which everyone took but no one gave. Here's the truth. Happiness is not a currency you can keep depleting just to please others. When you constantly put everyone else's happiness before your own, they begin to expect it. They forget that you too need love, care, and time for yourself. You are not merely a supporting character in someone else's story. You are not here to fix everyone's problems while neglecting your own. You are the author of your own life, and it is time to reclaim your role. Modern Stoic way teaches us that happiness and inner peace are responsibilities we must take upon ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, in his timeless wisdom, said, "A man is happy when he lives in harmony with himself." Your happiness should not be dependent on pleasing others, nor should it be sacrificed to meet their demands. Saying no is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of self-preservation, self-love. It is an understanding that your peace and well-being matter just as much as anyone else's. So, how do you reclaim your happiness? Begin by prioritizing yourself. Identify the things that bring you joy, purpose, and meaning. It could be spending time on your personal goals, engaging in activities that nourish your soul, or simply taking time to rest and recharge. Don't be afraid to say no to requests that leave you feeling drained or taken for granted. True love for others doesn't come from sacrificing your own well-being. It comes from maintaining balance and health so that you can show up for those you care about without losing yourself in the process. Instead of living a life in service to the needs and expectations of others, focus on creating a life that reflects your own values and desires. This is your one life to live, and you deserve to live it with purpose, peace, and fulfillment. Your happiness is just as important as anyone else's, and protecting it is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can perform. Your peace is priceless. Guard it fiercely, and there you have it. 5 things that drain your soul, and more importantly, how to reclaim your peace, energy, and happiness. Life is far too short to let your time focus or well-being be siphoned away by things that don't serve your true purpose. Whether it's learning to say no, setting healthy boundaries, or staying true to your values, the power to protect your inner peace is completely in your hand. Imagine waking up tomorrow, free from the weight of unnecessary obligations and expectations. Picture a life where you put yourself first, where you surround yourself with people who genuinely uplift you, and where you pursue goals that align with your true self. That is the life you deserve, one of purpose, balance, and peace. If this video resonated with you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more insights on mastering your mind and your life. And here's your call to action. Drop a comment below with one thing you're ready to reclaim starting today together. Let's take back control one decision at a time.